Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the PC Boys Podcast. I am your host, Logan Locke. So, it has been quite a hot minute since I've made a podcast. Of course, just busy with life, working two jobs and stuff. Nothing too crazy. But ultimately, we all know the drill. I don't have all the time in the world to do film updates and recaps and stuff like I used to when I was younger and had more time on my hands, but there finally seems to be some pieces lining up for Spider-Man Brand New Day that I want to talk about, as well as kind of give you guys like a rundown of some of the things that I've watched while I've been away and do like some quick rapid reviews, if you will, of some films and stuff. So I'm pretty excited about that. But without further ado, we're just going to get right into it. Of course, Linktree will be in the description down below. So, finally, we are getting some actual potential good theories as to who Sadie Sink is playing in Spider-Man Brand New Day. So, this behind-the-scenes picture was leaked out of Sadie Sink. Obviously, when they're not shooting, she's talking to Destin, who is the director of the movie. And she's in like this, big sleeping bag / jacket, trying to stay warm. Now, a lot of people have been saying that she is playing a version of Mary Jane or Mayday Parker. And even for a little while, I think I had that theory as well, that they could do something with that. But I also had the theory, based upon her character description that was, put out a while back, is that she could be playing Carly Cooper, who was basically this FBI forensics analyst that, helped Spider-Man out and eventually ended up becoming, I think the character was called Monster, basically female Green Goblin, if you will. In that run. But anyways, that was my initial, I would die on a hill to bet that was the case. But after this, had come out, there had been some rumors that started that actually do make sense. So I figured I would cover it. This is not a rumor that I started or even a character that I thought of in my mind, because I was really set on the Carly Cooper thing. But, so there is a good chance that Sadie Sink could be playing Rachel Cole Alves. Oh, I got two O's there. Supposed to say Cole. My bad. Spelling error. Who was a female Punisher in the comics. Now, I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. As a comic book nerd, I don't even remember this character. Now, granted, I didn't read a lot of Punisher books on their own. Normally, anything that I have about Frank or Punisher in my mind is from Spider-Man or Daredevil comics, right? I read some Punisher stuff. It just wasn't something that I personally loved. I do like the TV show. I love everything that, John Bernthal's doing with the Punisher. But when it came to, his comic books, I never was a big comic book reader in terms of Punisher media. But having Sadie Sink play a red-headed version, right? Because she does have red hair, clearly in this behind-the-scenes photo. Her playing this, female Punisher would actually make a lot of sense, because there's been discussions about what's going on behind the scenes and that there is a female Punisher in this movie, or a partner that Frank will have that you could dub female Punisher. Now, the reason I think that this rumor has a lot of credibility is not just because both the characters' hairs are red, but if we look at Sadie Sink in this picture, she's wearing military-like gear, right? She's got the camo pants, some boots. I can't tell if they're military boots or not, right? And then, of course, she has this, what looks to be athletic spandex shirt. Well, if you're doing anything military-wise, would be kind of useful to wear, right? And even this little jacket, you could say, is more on the tactical-ish side if you're, hanging out somewhere, trying to stay warm and whatnot. Not talking about this big baggy part, just this, beige-ish stuff. So it lends credence to that, because if we've seen anything, Frank Castle wears when he, if you've watched Daredevil Season 2 or Born Again or any of the Punisher stuff, right? This looks kind of like something that Frank would wear, with the camo pants and stuff, tactical gear. And like I said, it is such a small behind-the-scenes photo, but at the same time, it would make a lot of sense if she was playing Punisher's counterpart, right, in the film. With the outfit that she has on, it doesn't scream anything that says Mary Jane or even Carly Cooper. Like I said, there's still a good chance she could be Carly Cooper, but I think that this theory also has a good amount of credibility, because my theory of her being Carly Cooper, when I reported on that, which I think was my last podcast like 2 or 3 months ago, was the fact that, Sadie Sink's description of her character sounds just like Carly Cooper, but with how she looks in this behind-the-scenes photo and listening to the discussions online about her potentially being a female Punisher, this actually checks out, because there is a character that has red hair, and that is a female Punisher. Someone that helps Frank out. So it lines up. I would argue it lines up just as well as the character description that led me to believe that she could be Carly Cooper. And the thing is, on the podcast, right, I don't like to do a lot of theory videos if it's based off of a nothing burger, right? Actually, I had a friend and I were talking about this last night at an Xbox party before I crashed and went to bed, but I was talking to him and I was saying, I don't want to make content that talks about this theory that just sprang up online when there's no concrete evidence, or there's nothing that I'm pulling from, right, to get that evidence for the theory, right? Because if you're gonna present a theory, you gotta have something that it stands on, like a foundation of truth or some piece of evidence that points to the theory in play. Now, when it came to mine about her being Carly Cooper because of the leaked character synopsis for her, that is what led me to believe that. But with this behind-the-scenes picture, her hair, her outfit, and then knowing that there's a female Punisher in the movie, this actually lines up perfectly. Like it's not coincidental, right? Is what I'm trying to say. So there is credence to both of those rumors, and in the character description, they were saying that this character that Sadie Sink was playing was gonna be like this flip, like not expected kind of thing, right? So my guess is either maybe it is Carly Cooper playing or is helping Frank out and is the female Punisher, or maybe it is Rachel character, and she just has some of the traits like Carly Cooper, right? That's like the only thing I can think of in terms of how they could use both characters, right? But that's kind of like the big rumor right now that's going on in the mill. I mean, you have a lot of stuff like Michael Mando was spotted on the set of Spider-Man Brand New Day, getting out of a helicopter, aka Scorpion. We know that there's apparently a female villain in this movie. Now, my guess would be it could be Silver Sable. It could be... Now, actually, if you think about that, it could make sense, right? Wilson Fisk... this ties into the Daredevil stuff. I completely forgot to mention this. So, the man behind Marvel Television... Oh, gosh, his name is slipping my mind right now. But he was talking about, was it Brad Winderbaum? I think it might have been Brad Winderbaum. But he was talking about how Daredevil Season 2, Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is going to lead into Spider-Man Brand New Day. Like, the events of that show is going to have a direct connection with Spider-Man Brand New Day. This isn't just like some Twitter guy saying, hey guys, I got a scoop that I got to tell you. No, this guy, like, he is officially involved with Marvel Television, and Disney, right? And he said, yes, Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is going to have connection to Spider-Man Brand New Day. And that's awesome, by the way. Like that makes me more excited for Daredevil, because, knowing that my two favorite heroes have like some connective tissue there is great. But if Wilson Fisk is still in power by the end of Daredevil Born Again Season 2, because like I said, we don't know how that Season 2 is going to play out. And Wilson Fisk still has that vigilante task force, or he's still trying to get rid of vigilantes. Him hiring Silver Sable would make a lot of sense. And using supervillains to go after superheroes would also make sense. These sound like things that Kingpin would do, right? Like, Kingpin could essentially set up Silver Sable coming into the picture. So I believe if there's a female villain in this movie, it could be Silver Sable. That's a theory. Now, what does that stand on, right? Well, like I said, Daredevil, Born Again Season 2, having a direct connection to Spider-Man Brand New Day. Confirmed by Brad Winderbaum. If this has to do with Fisk hiring Sable International, it could very well work. And Silver Sable is a Spider-Man villain / ally at times. So you can put her in that movie. And it would make sense if Wilson Fisk was like the launch point for that. Scorpion, same thing. I'm finally... Oh, dude, I'm so excited for Scorpion. You guys got no idea. Like, I got tears in my eyes. Just, I want to see that suit. I want to see the Scorpion suit so bad. But anyways, yeah, no. So, the way that like, what it's sounding like to me is they could be setting up Silver Sable. But like I said, this also depends upon how does Daredevil Born Again Season 2 goes. My theory is predicated on the fact that by the end of the series, Wilson Fisk is still in power and using the Vigilante Task Force, or something happens in the series that leads to Sable International needing to come in. Somebody hires her and brings her in, right? So, there is that. And we know Jessica Jones, of course, is back in Daredevil Born Again Season 2. So having more vigilantes, on the scene in New York, having that push for someone like Sable International to come in and, like, quell things makes sense. So for me, personally, I think Silver Sable, could very well be the main villain, or could be one of the villains in the movie, because we know there's going to be quite a few. There was also behind-the-scene pictures. I don't have them all on my Twitter, but there was behind-the-scene pictures of Mark Ruffalo on set, and he looked really banged up and stuff. So there's a chance of something going on there with the Hulk too, but, like, who's he going to be fighting? Like, who's going to damage the Hulk, right? Spider-Man Brand New Day is actually exciting because while we have so much confirmed stuff about, the movie that it's going to be connected to Daredevil Born Again Season 2 in some kind of way, knowing that Scorpion's in it, knowing Sadie Sink's in it, but we're not exactly sure who, knowing Punisher's in it, knowing the Hulk's in it, right? We have all this information about the movie, but there's still so many unknowns, like, who is the main villain? And what is the overall story of this movie going to be? Who are all the villains going to be? Will there be Black Cat and stuff, right? There is a lot at play here. And for me, I am super excited because there's stuff that we know about that has me hyped, but then there's enough unknown factors that gets me also excited. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Spider-Man Brand New Day is my most anticipated movie of next year. It's not Doomsday. I'm sorry. I try to find in myself a way to be excited for Doomsday. Basically, the only way Doomsday is going to sell me is if they make a banger of a trailer that gets me invested. They're going to have to create the best trailer of trailers to make me get invested into Doomsday. I'm just being honest. Right now, Doomsday is not something I'm overly anticipating. But Spider-Man Brand New Day is so high up there with Born Again as well. I'm even excited for Vision Quest just because they're bringing Ultron back. That and it, like just knowing Ultron's coming back makes me excited for that project and what they're going to do with him. If they waste him again, I'm going to be very pissed, but I love Ultron. I think Age of Ultron is one of the most hated movies in Marvel for no good reason. Granted, they did kind of nerf Ultron, and Ultron is a lot more dangerous in the comics, but still, I'm really excited about that. But, like I said, when it comes to these Spider-Man Brand New Day rumors and stuff, and, like, the things that we are seeing, some things are lining up, She, like I said, Sadie Sink could be Carly Cooper. She very well could be this, Rachel Alves character. She could be none of those, right? But like I said, the theories, there's enough to make an argument on both. I would say that this one has more concrete, like her playing Rachel has more concrete foundation than mine of her playing Carly Cooper, because like I said, mine is just based off a character description, but they might add that kind of stuff into this character, right? So, who knows? We'll have to wait and see what happens. But I'm really excited. I also watched, Fantastic Four. Me and my girlfriend, we watched Fantastic Four last Thursday. Solid movie. As much as I dislike Pedro Pascal, it was a solid movie. It actually brought me to tears. Like, I was very impressed with that film. I was very impressed with that film. But at the end of the day, when it comes to Marvel as a whole, outside of Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, they haven't really brought their A game. I watched Marvel Zombies. That was really fun. I really liked that. I thought that was a very fun series. I watched it through a few times, actually. I think I watched it through like 3 times. It was fun. I liked it. And I think that Marvel, not only utilizing the TVMA rating to its fullest potential, but also leaving off on like a sad, note, was actually like awesome that Marvel had like the courage to do that. So I was very impressed with Marvel. They actually made a project that I was like, wow, this is actually kind of good. For the first time in a while, not counting Thunderbolts, and this was also prior to me watching Fantastic Four. But at the end of the day, when it comes to Marvel, they have a lot of like making up to do to the fans. They have a lot of making up to do for all of us, because we want to get back into the theaters and be excited for Marvel stuff, but they got a long way to go to earn that trust back from us, right? And like I said, for me, like, one of the reasons my podcast is dead outside of just not having a lot of time to make podcasts, right, is back when I started the PC Boys podcast with David and Kevin back in high school, we would always be talking about Marvel. Like, Marvel was on fire with every project they put out, and the theories, the excitement, it was overwhelming. And now Marvel's in a place where I don't like talking about it a lot. Like, Spider-Man is a rare exception for me, because he's my favorite character, and Daredevil as well. They're my top 2 Marvel characters of all time in the comics and on the big screen, right? But at the same time, Marvel as a whole brand, I just don't care about as much anymore. Like, yes, I can go back and watch the prime of Marvel and love those movies and read the Prime Day comics and stuff. But modern Marvel isn't that good. So it's hard for me to get hyped about projects. Like, they have to make good trailers. Or in Spider-Man's case, take a character that I love and do him justice, right? And this movie has me excited because it's ground level. And there's so much, like, stuff that we know about that's exciting. And then the unknown stuff that we're speculating on is exciting. Like, it's the first time in a long time that I'm talking about a Marvel project, and I'm like, I can't wait to see what they do with this. And it's exciting. I'm excited about things like Five Nights at Freddy's. Predator Badlands comes out next month. I'm really excited about that. But at the end of the day, like, with some of these movies and stuff, I can only speculate so much. I can only nerd out so much. When it comes to Marvel, it's like Marvel and Transformers are like the 2 most untapped plethora things that I have in terms of, like, I can just talk about it all day because of the knowledge that I just have of the IPs and the different mediums and stories that they've told. But when it comes to something like, Five Nights at Freddy's, like, I like the games. This new movie is looking very good. I mean, they had some big announcements. They said, hey, Matt Pat's going to be playing Toy Bonnie, and that Megan Fox is playing Toy Chica and stuff. So they made some, like, big announcements in terms of casting for that. And I'm excited for it. I think that this movie is going to be better than the first one. I think that it's going to be scarier than the first one, which is one of my big critiques about the first movie, is it wasn't scary really at all. So I am excited to see what they do, but I'm also, like, concerned too, because, like, it could easily just go as bad. And oh yeah, Jack Black, he's playing the puppet. That could go really bad. If they make that way too funny. But Predator Badlands looks very promising. They announced that it's like PG-13, but the reason it's PG-13 is because there's a lot of dismemberment and gore of aliens and synthetics. So there's no blood, like human blood. It's like milk white substance for the synthetics. If you've watched Alien, the synthetics bleed like a milky kind of, I don't know what it is, liquid, some kind. And then, of course, you have the alien blood, which, it's alien blood. So it's PG-13 because there's no humans in the movie getting dismembered and stuff, which, that's fine. If it's still gory and awesome and there's no humans, that's fine with me. Just make it interesting. And I have a feeling the story is going to be really good and interesting because it's diving into Predator culture. That's the first time that we really, like, we scratch the surface of Predator culture in all the Predator films, but we never take, like, a deep dive into it. And I think Predator Killer of Killers was the first real glimpse into it. And now with Predator Badlands, we're really getting into it. So I'm really excited about that as well. And when that movie comes out, I will be making a review on Predator Badlands. The reason I didn't make a review on Fantastic Four is just because, I just watched it recently. It's been out for a while. Like, there's not a lot to talk about for me personally. Like, I enjoyed it. I thought the story was very well done. All the characters were done very well, to serviceable. Really had nothing bad to say about the film. Really had nothing bad to say about it whatsoever. Marvel Zombie, same thing. Yeah, there was some stupid deaths in there where, like, people gave their lives for no good reason. But outside of those, little complaints, like, it was very solid, very entertaining. So yeah, like, they're just not in-depth, reviews that I can make, because it's just some of the things I don't really need to think super in-depth about. Unless it, like, grinds my gears or I'm just, like, super into it, then yeah, chances are I probably won't make, like, a big podcast about it or, like, a dedicated review. But I will be making a dedicated review on Predator Badlands because I've been waiting for this movie. I would argue Predator Badlands is my most anticipated movie of this year. That's not even me capping. Like, Thunderbolts was a surprise to me. Like, I was like, yeah, I'll go watch Thunderbolts. I walked out of that movie loving it and being like, dang, I kind of wish that this was the high one on my radar, but it wasn't. I just wasn't that hyped, and it blew me out of the water with my expectations. But ultimately, I watched Superman. That was a good movie too. But I'm really looking forward to Predator Badlands. That's like my movie this year. That's the one movie I'm actually super hyped about this year. Next year, it's Spider-Man. Predictably. But next year for video games, it's a whole separate thing. We got Wolverine coming out. We got the Halloween game. So I got a few, things I'm excited for next year on the gaming front. And that's another thing too, right? I don't talk about gaming much anymore. Like, gaming is just in such a sad state. Like, you get a breakout game once in a while. You get like a Stellar Blade. Your Expedition 33s, I didn't play it, but I know a lot of people liked Expedition 33. You get your Dooms and stuff. Like, you get some good games here and there, but it's a lot of slop. It's a lot of Call of Duty. Like, I'm not going to talk to you guys about Call of Duty. Like, the drill, what COD is all about. Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about, the bundles and skins, dude. The bundles and skins are so cool. Like, that's so dumb. It's so dumb. But before I get on to a whole tangent about a bunch of other things, I just want to leave off with this. Spider-Man Brand New Day is looking really good. Daredevil Born Again is looking phenomenal. Predator Badlands looks like it's going to be a banger. And I'm really interested to see what they do with Five Nights at Freddy's 2. But with all that being said, that is it for the podcast. I hope you all enjoyed. And I'll catch you all in the next one.